So it has came to my interest to talk about a term called triangulation, aka trauma bonding. So what is triangulation? I would say, with my own words, that triangulation is basically when you try to bond with another person and you do that, or another person bond with you, by talking bad and pushing away someone else, a third party. They do this in order to gain connection and bonding and some form of closeness with another person. So it's kind of like it becomes you two against that person. And the third party, this third person, becomes this kind of scapegoat that these other two people, could just be one person, but like these two eventually start to project their problems onto this person. And this is a very common pattern that happens in relationships. Like, it's actually very, very common. Many people like to say that this mostly happens in abusive relationships or where there is a narcissist involved. I do agree with that, but it's not only the case. Usually it stems, this pattern stems from a narcissistic person in the beginning. For example, if you would have this pattern yourself, usually that would stem from being around, having a narcissistic parent, for example, someone that taught this pattern to you. And yeah, the person doesn't have to be fully narcissistic in order for this to happen. Could also be a person that's just afraid of conflict, a person that's passive aggressive and don't know how to, kind of goes this back door. Instead of directly facing the problem and speaking to a person, they can go to another person and just vent and speak about all the problems and issues and struggles, instead of facing it. It doesn't have to be an abusive or narcissistic person. It can be very innocent actually, but yeah, it can definitely also come from a narcissistic person that use this as a manipulative tactic, in order to control relationships, basically. As I said, it usually happens in friendship dynamics, especially girl groups. Not gonna lie, it's more common in girl groups. You probably grew up with teenage groups, all the girls, it's always someone they would speak bad about, or this, it's so common for this pattern to occur. But it can also happen in family dynamics, where the mom talks bad about the dad to the kid, or another sibling talk bad about one sibling, talk bad about this other sibling to the third sibling. And this can also happen at workplaces. It can also happen in romantic relationships where the couple bonds this way in order to strengthen the relationship that is already unstable. This only happens when the relationship is unstable. And it's a way for the couple to instead of facing actual problems in the relationship, they kind of find a scapegoat situation or person to focus their energy at, so that they don't have to face their own, problems. So it could be neighbors, it could be another couple where they compare themselves, or they like find faults in that couple, and they're like, yeah, our relationship is so much better, and stuff like that. Or just friends in general, you know, they find problems to focus on, to bond, instead of facing their own misery. Just think like this: every time someone speaks negatively, talk shit about another person, that's when triangulation occurs. You know, it's that simple. It's really that simple. So you can imagine how common this is. And this is also very common that people pleasers fall into these patterns, because the people pleaser feels the need to bond, for example, with an abuser. People pleasers are very like magnetic to narcissistic people. So it's very common that the people pleaser wants to bond with this abuser, narcissistic person. So the people pleaser might, you know, actually feed into that triangulation that the friend or the abuser or the, you know, person, the other person creates. So the people pleaser feed into that, and, you know, the people pleaser might feel really good that, oh my God, this person talks with me about this. So they may see it as a way, you know, to feel special or feel like they're important and like they can, you know, be a supportive person to this other person. Because it doesn't have to be an abusive person actually speaking. It could be just someone that just wants to vent their emotions, and they don't, you know, want to face it directly to the person whom the problem is about. This people pleaser might just want to be that support and gain that validation and approval from this person. So that's very, very common. But it could also just be the people pleaser actually creating this triangulation, because they knew that, you know, they saw that this pattern happened in the past. For example, I had to feed into this when my mom, you know, with my mom against my dad, or, you know, or other people, my mom against other people. You know, you learned that this is a pattern that like as a people pleaser, you learn that this triangulation pattern creates bonding and creates connection. So the people pleaser might actually be the one to initiate that pattern in a friendship or with someone, because they think that this is a way for me to gain connection. So yeah, that's also just very common. And the people pleaser might probably be the person that is afraid of conflict and goes about it this passive aggressive way. I would say that the best ways to break out of these triangulation patterns is to, 1, become aware of them. It's that simple. Start to see in your life, when does this pattern occur? Am I the one creating it? Or what people are the ones creating this pattern? And from there, the second step is to reevaluate, reevaluate, I think you say. Yeah. Reevaluate your relationships. Really just reflect on your relationships and see like which ones actually makes me feel good, or, you know, and which relationships just creates drama. The third thing to do, I would say, is to notice these patterns in yourself. Like really go deeper into them. Like try to see, like, how am I actually, like, what if I am feeding into these patterns or creating them? Why is that? What trauma? Because this is a trauma response. Like this happens from a place of trauma where you want to feel connection, you don't want to be abandoned, you know? So find out like what is the root of this. And then you want to meet those needs so that this type of coping mechanism naturally dissolves. Definitely some shadow work to do with that. Fourth way, or the fourth thing you can do, is to speak up. Really just speak up and say, you can say literally things like, yeah, I think you should say this to the person, you know? I think you should actually express this. If this is a concern of yours, I think you should express this to that person, you know? You can say that. And yeah, if the person is very indoctrinated in this pattern, they will probably, you know, try to like, you know, they will probably avoid that. But still, that's just a very good thing to say, because you want to interrupt that pattern. That's basically what you want to do. Interrupt that pattern for yourself or for other people. And the best way really is to just be the example yourself and, you know, do that yourself. Show people that it is safe. Show people that, you know, I know it can be scary if you're not used to that, but yeah, it's always a good way to do it. You know, you can actually, like, if you have a concern, like, learn to go directly about it and speak and express your emotions and needs and boundaries. And you can do that in a very respectful, loving way that doesn't have to like create, you know, when you do that from a loving place, it doesn't create drama, it doesn't create tension in that way. Obviously, yeah, like if the person has lots of trauma, yes, they can become very reactive, but that's really on them. And by dealing with this yourself, you naturally gain the tools to even handle those types of situations, because all it is, it's emotions and it's trauma just coming up to the surface as a trigger. Another thing you can do is to just, I don't know, like you can actually just ignore the person, but it's like, I personally think it's better to just express instead, so that things can become clear instead of like ignoring. And, you know, I feel like that's, you know, that's more of an avoidance strategy that I don't think really works in the long run. So yeah, facing the situation, you know, speaking up, I would say is the best option. And the fifth thing you can do is to just walk away. I know it like contradicts what I just said, like, you know, being avoidant stuff. But yeah, you don't actually have to put yourself in those situations. And that's, I would say that is more about self-love. And of course, as I said, it's really good if you can express, if you're able to express and speak up. But yeah, you can also just, you know, you don't have to involve your energy at all, because where energy goes, energy flows. So it just makes sense that you wouldn't want to involve your energy into those weird patterns. Hi, it's me from future. I actually think there's a huge difference between ignoring something and walking away. And I just want to explain the difference of that. When you just ignore the situation, you might still get involved in that situation, but you know, you end up taking no action. Instead, you just ignore it, which can be a form of bypassing. But when you walk away, you actually make the decision that I don't want to be a part of this. So I'm actually just not gonna put myself in that situation. So that's kind of what I mean. If you find yourself constantly being in this situation where you're like, oh, I need to walk away, like there's probably something to reflect upon more, because yeah, like if the pattern still occurs, maybe another strategy is necessary. And also some more reflections to how you are being a vibrational match to this, how you are still attracting in these scenarios in your life. Maybe the solution for that is to actually speak up. Maybe that the purpose is for you to speak up so that you can break the pattern. For some people, it might work to walk away. So it really depends. So you can try out these different things in your life and you'll see what strategy works best for you and how to solve, you know, create a solution for yourself. These are some things that I want to talk about. There is really so much to speak about when it comes to this subject. I definitely been full on going through triangulations my whole life. Like I literally been on all ends, you know, in the triangle. And yeah, really to just reflect on this is so helpful and it has helped me grow tons. Yeah, I hope this video was helpful in any way. And if you want to learn more about it, you can just literally Google and read more about it, and you can probably read more examples on this too, because it can really play out in so many ways that you might relate to. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you guys in another one.